Hi guys, Gary here for GenVFX, once again dropping in part 2 of the tutorial for the ancient Hilltop. It's not probably the best name, but it kind of works. Yeah, basically what we're going to talk about today is going from here, from our grassy knoll that's still been blown by the wind. If I just press play on this, you can see it's kind of moving. You can't see it that well in this mode. Let me change it to just a shaded mode rather than a shading mode. So solid shading, you can see there it is, it's all moving and manipulating and it's blowing all over the place. So there's quite some power coming in from our turbulence. And it's just lovely, lovely. It's got that beautiful ripple going through. It feels like one of those summer day sort of fields. But what we're going to talk about today is putting some stele on the top. Stele or standing stone, or whatever you want to call it. It's just going to be a sort of rectangular, oblongish kind of quadrilateral type of block of stone, otherwise known as a standing stone. Maybe one of them's going to be falling over. But the point is, there's a quick way of building them, and there's a very elaborate way of building them. So if you're going for something very, very stylized, I kind of like the quick way because it does exactly what I need it to do. So I'm going to show you that one. Well, we'll come to that in a second, because first of all, what we need to do is work out where we're going to put our first standing stone, and then we need to do a little bit of editing on our particle hair stroke grass. So what we've got here at the moment is we're looking at our grass. In fact, if I change it back to here, there we go, our render state of our grass, and we're in object mode. Now, I'm also looking down the camera, so I'm just going to come out of the camera, so I'm not necessarily looking down the camera. And I think, well, I think it would be nice if, well, I'll tell you what, let's add a cube in here, and let's lift it up and think, well, where do I want my stele? So I am going to go into edit mode. I'm going to pick this face. Let's press 3 on the keyboard, and then press that one there. Lift this one up. We'll have a couple probably, but let's just lift up this one and then go to object mode, and we're gonna, in fact, let's go back into edit mode and do this. So I was going to scale it, but I always feel as though I should do that in object, but actually it's better to do scaling in edit mode, because that way you still keep your transforms set correctly. So your scale, if I just press N here and we go to item, you see your scale is set to 1, because you did in edit mode, you didn't do it by mucking around with the transforms in object mode. So you haven't got to apply them, they're already applied. So let's say we want one here. Yeah, let's put one there. And I'm going to do a Shift D and pull this over here. And let's put another one here. And let's scale this one down a bit. So let's go into edit mode, select everything, and then go S and drag in a bit. So it's a little bit thinner. We can see what we're doing there. Let's take this one and lift this up a little bit. Go back to object mode. I think I'm kind of happy with where they are in terms of the ground. Let's bring this one into the ground properly, so it's all the way in. There we go. Do the same with this one, all the way in. There we go. So there we have our 2 standing stones. We'll just leave it with 2 for the time being. I'm going to go into the object settings, into viewport display, into wireframe. But it doesn't seem to want to do it. Let's put it that way. Come on. Ah, that's why. Because I'm not doing that. There we go. I knew it was. I always get that wrong. Viewport display, and for some reason you've also got display as. Ridiculous, quite frankly. Right. So now we can kind of see where they are without actually having to have them visible. And the reason for that is because I want to edit, as I said, I want to edit where the grass is, because I don't want it sort of like flapping in and around it. I don't mind if it knocks into it a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about collisions on the grass. So let's pick our object and let's pick our landmass, and let's go to object mode, and we'll go down here past weight paints and texture paints, and we'll go down to particle edit. And as you do, you'll see basically our particles become just the base level of what a particle should look like. Now we can see where our object goes into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what each of these does. This one here, this is basically for combing. So this is basically for pushing and pulling hair around. If I just do a little bit here. This is for smoothing, which kind of makes it all look very neat and nice. And it's not necessarily what we want. It kind of does tend to remove some of the kinks and stuff that we put into this. So if I just do that, there you go. See? I don't really want to do that. So let's go back to combing. Let's pull it around a little bit. Just make it a little bit more random. Prefer a little bit more random. Always looks a bit better. We can pull it up from the side. Let's pull it up there. There we go. And this is for adding. Adding in more, but obviously this surface is pretty full, so therefore that's useless. This one is for increasing the length. This one is for puffing out and basically making them go further apart. So it's very much a, helps you pick it, very much a top thing. So you can push them around a bit like this. In fact, if I go back into this, nope, if I come out, it'll only show it when you come out of object mode, come out of this and go into object mode. Let's puff those up a little bit. Make it a little bit more like the grassiness. We've got cut, so that basically will cut the grass like that. And then we have weight. And obviously this is dependent on how heavy the grass is, how heavy the hair is, what you want to do with it. It's probably best on something like grass though to leave that as it is. That's perfect for actually working on hair if you are actually grooming and you want it to be thicker and thinner and stuff. But what we want to do here is we actually want cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use cut to erase the hair within the constraints of our object. That little bit in the middle that won't go away. It should go away. It's probably because, there we go. It's just, essentially what you're doing right now is you are painting a weight in essence. So let's just do the same here. Come up to the corners of our polygon. Let's paint some of these out, and it's a bit worn around the edge here, which will also add a little bit of life to it. Go back to object mode now, and you can see we've got a little, oh, I've missed a bit there. Let's go back into here, and let's change that to cut, and let's get rid of those there. That looks a bit better. Yeah, I think that's, I quite like that, that's nice. Maybe get rid of that one there. Let's go back to object. There you go. So we've got some sort of like stuff a little bit still around this one. So let's go back here to particle edit mode. Oof. And we're just going to cut a few more out from here. Let's take those ones out from between them as if someone's been walking around between them, which is quite useful. And let's paint those out. Let's get that bit there. And maybe there's been some sort of path here, let's just say. So let's just get rid of those ones there. There we go. Let's go back to object mode, and there we go. That's a little bit more. That feels quite shaving there, doesn't it? Shaven, in fact. Yeah, let's leave that like that. I quite like that. And let's go back to our cubes, which are not in the forces, which is good. In fact, let's make a new collection. And let's call that stele. And then put those in there. And call that ST001. And we'll call that ST002. So we've actually got some clear area now on our hillock. For our stele. And I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to change it from wire back to textured. Pick this one and change it from wire back to textured. Turn off the wireframe. We don't need to do the wireframe like that. It's pointless. And if we can just scrub in here and we can see there's stuff happening around. So what we're going to do now is I'm very quickly going to save this as. We're going to call this. Let's call it. Let's go up one here into my duts. Make a new folder called 035 underscore stele. I've already got one there. Haha. And we're going to call this 035 underscore stele build. And here we're going to start talking about how I go about making very, very simple stele. And it is a very simple stele. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put this onto shade smooth. And let's pop this, the auto smooth on the normals. On stele 2, and I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to add just a few more surfaces like this. We're then going to go from here with this object. We're going to go into sculpt mode, and I'm going to hit on the number pad. I'm going to hit /, So we have just this. There's no lighting, no nothing. So let's make sure this is set not to lights and scene. There we go. And let's change this to modeling. In fact, and do that again. There we go. So we have our edit mode, we've still got our object. We're going to change this to sculpt mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to very quickly just pull what we've got around a bit. Just pull it in and pull this up. And take this and pull this down. Just, I mean, it is rough and ready. It's not meant to be it's not meant to be very well structured or very, very specific. Just try and make it feel a little bit more kind of broken. And that's a good thing, trust me. So let's bring that down a bit, maybe that one, push that one up in the middle. Yeah, let's push one, come on. That's it, bring that one down, push that one down. That will do for me. That will probably look a little bit unstructured. Come back to object mode. And let's start sticking on some modifiers. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick on a decimate. And I'm going to start bringing this down until it makes us some triangles. There we go. That's quite nice. And then once we've got these triangles, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add on a bevel. It breaks up our corners a little bit. And then I'm going to add a subdivision surface. And I'm going to set that to simple. Stick a couple of those in there. And I'm going to add another decimate. Reduce this down. So we start to get more polys, because at the very top we'll just go, right, what can it do? So it pulls it down a little bit more like this. So it's a little bit broken again. Just feels a little more pushed around. And then we're going to add a subdivision surface on the top of this. And if you look at that now, pretty much what you've got is a kind of a, let's just turn off the wireframe for a second. You had something that feels like it's a little bit bashed about. So I'm going to leave all of these visible, and I'm going to go back to edit mode so you can see everything that's going on now. And I'm going to take a few of these points, a few of these vertices, and I'm going to press Control Shift and B, which is like a bevel. Basically what it is, it's a chamfer. It's the same sort of thing as a bevel, but what it is, it bevels vertices rather than edges. So we can do that, pull that back there like this. So it's just adding a little bit more visual information into here. Same on that one there. But it almost looks a little bit more like a dink, like a cut. And then just to absolutely clean this up, let's pop some of those in there. Just some cuts. I know you probably would, I mean, it's more than likely that someone would say, well, wouldn't it be better if you did it like this, because that means you'll make quads in those. Yeah, but do you know what? I'm not too concerned about the actual overall structure. It's not that much of an important thing for something like this. Saying that, that does look better than that one. But that one looks lovely, you see. I'm happy with that one. So let me just now go into this point here and bring this one back out a bit. Now we've got a bit more information. There we go. Push that way. And I'm going to push this one out a bit and across. I could easily do this with sculpting, to be honest with you, once you've added a few points. And then when you're kind of happy with everything, well, what you can do is you can apply all of these. Now there's two ways you go: apply, 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 or you pick your mesh, your object, and go convert to mesh. And that will basically do the same thing. So now what I've got here, if we put the wireframe back on, put them back in so we can see them. There we go. We've got a kind of a pretty messy object, especially particularly around here. Not overly bothered. I might just do a very quick decimate. Just try to clean that a little bit. Maybe that'll do. Yep, that'll do, I think. Just don't want it too heavy, do we? So let's do that. There we go. Let's quickly apply that. So that would be our first stele. So put back into the scene, kind of has the right sort of look and feel. And if I just turn off the wireframe, yeah, that feels kind of like a standing stone to me. But it doesn't have any textural feel yet. It doesn't have anything that actually really makes it feel like a stele. So let's leave that one for the time being. Let's turn this one off so we can't see it. that off in the render as well. And let's come into here, let's go into the shading. Now this is where we go from our little rubbishy little box that we've just turned into this like sort of concrete joy into something that feels a lot more realistic. Now also I'm going to make sure that I'm in cycles, and also that I've got experimental set, which I have, because we're going to be using actual displacements rather than the modified displacements. Don't get me wrong, they're good, but we want to be able to do things with the shader to create and change the shape. And if you use displace, you can't as yet use the texture that you've got in your displace that's based on your modifiers actually inside of your shading. This is going to change though. I'm pretty sure that's the plan with this everything nodes thing. It means that you can take displacements and have those that you're using in the shader to also be used in the displacement inside of the modifier, which is brilliant. That's something that's been done for years in all the other ones. So let's just pop this here like this. We've got some sun on, got a little bit of GI on as well, and let's create a new shader. So first of all, straight away we're going to principled BSDF. That's all there. And I'm going to add into here texture. I'm going to add a Musgrave. Yes, of course, I always add a Musgrave because Musgrave is lovely. So if I just plug that into the base color, immediately you can start to see we've got this black and white thing going on. So there's our Musgrave. We're going to connect that in, and as you can see, it's black and white. There's not many shades of grey. Partly that, of course, is because it has values that are going lower than black and higher than white that we need to be able to get access to. And you'll notice there's more than anything. If I go to a converter and I go colorRamp, drop that in there, and you'll see we've got greys and whites and they're topping out. So what we need to do is very quickly go into our converter and we go map range and we drop that into here, and I'm going to increase this value until we start to see more greys than whites. Look, on this side here is probably a better way of doing it. In fact, if we go back here into this one, I can actually control it a little bit better, so you can actually see that's making the whites a little bit better. There we go. We take this down until we're getting just a little bit of black rather than big pools of black. If I increase this a little bit now, get some nice ranges of greys, and there's some white there. So that's that's possibly a little bit too extreme. Let's go for that. That works pretty well for me. I'm going to control T with Node Wrangler, and we can see all of those happening in there, looking all nice and lovely. But obviously those aren't the colours we're after. What we want is something which is a bit more grey, maybe with a hint of brown. And here, let's do the same thing again. Let's go orangey grey with a hint of brown. Just a little bit of brown, just a little bit. Not a huge amount, because most of these things are just grey, let's be honest. And at the minute you can see it's kind of a little bit reflective and stuff. Well, we'll make that a little bit more evident in a second. But at the minute that's fine, but what I really want is I want it a little bit swirly. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some mucking around basically with our mapping. So we've got some bit more information going into here. This mapping is relatively okay. Let's go in here, let's scale this up in order to bring it down. Let's increase the information here in terms of detail. And let's reduce the dimension a little, not that much. There we go, that's better. And then I'm going to go into Z, and I'm just going to scale this up so it's a little more less. There we go. That feels nice and stony. I like that. Oh, that's good. But let's get some swirling going on in there. Give a little bit of something different. So let's go in here and let's go to texture, and let's add. I'm thinking of Voronoi. Yeah, let's add a Voronoi. I could equally add in a wave, actually. But I do like a Voronoi. Now what we want to do is we want to put the information that's coming out of the Voronoi into our mapping. Now we could put it here or we could put it there. I'm going to pop it here because we're just going to adjust what's coming in to our Musgrave with that. So in order to combine those together, what I need is some vector math. And because it's vector information coming out, so I'll put that into there. I'll put that into there. At the moment, it's just going to go back to where it was because it's 0, 0, 0. And in the Voronoi, let's very quickly do a Control T to get all the Node Wrangler stuff up again. So we've got all our mapping coordinates on that, so we can adjust it. And I'm going to add another vector math just here. So I put our positional data into here. And I'm going to change this to a multiply. and I'm going to put this now into here. Now the first thing it's going to do is it's going to change absolutely nothing. That's good. So what I'm going to do is, as I press shift, as I push across here, you can start to see stuff going on inside of here. If I do this again, you can see it pushing through. I do this here, you see it pushing through. So what we're getting here kind of is this sort of edged kind of feel. Position might not be quite right. Let's try color. Let's try distance. There we go. So I set these down to 0, 0, and 0. Nothing's happening. If I put my finger on shift and drag slightly here, you can see a little bit of the Voronoi color being manipulated into it. So it's kind of producing these odd sort of like circly shapes, which is good. So what we want to do now is we want to increase the scale of these so there's less of them. And I'm going to leave that as that too. So what we have is something that looks a little bit more circular. There you go, you can really see what's happening there now. So if I set that to 0.2, and I set that to 0.2, and I set that to 0.2, that's kind of got those little swirly bits happening across the whole thing. And I'm kind of starting to like the feel of that. That has something that just feels a little less than just noise, which is exactly what I wanted. Now that is currently adding to it. We could multiply the values with that. Again, that just looks a little bit too squirrely. You can go through and, you know, muck around with them all, but we're just going to use add because it kind of does what we want. So if I just pull this along through here, you can see we're getting a little bit more muckiness, a little bit more muckiness, which is fine. But what I really want to do is add a little bit more in here still of something else. So I'm going to pull up in this gap here, and let's add another Musgrave just in here and do the same sort of thing. We're going to add vector math to this, which we will turn into a multiply so we can control how much of that we have coming out of it. And then we'll add another vector math on top of that, which will pop in here and pop that into there. So we're just manipulating that with this one. So if I just now increase this, now, this texture tree, this structural thing, we're also going to use for the bump. We'll also come back and adjust the color slightly because I'm going to muck around with that. So I'm going to add a vector bump, stick that here. I'm going to take this map range, I'm going to drop that into the height and the normal into the normal. And there you go, a really sort of like gnarly, it looks too much like wood. But obviously that's just a matter of controlling the strength of this thing, bringing that down till it's not anything more than just a little bit of information. And I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to use that for the displacement as well, obviously. So what we're going to do is going to take this colorRamp, I'm going to do a Shift D, bring that to here. There we go. And that's put that in there by accident, so let's just disconnect that. Pop that there, because I want to keep that for the time being just over there. And I'm going to go, right, well, let's just start adding a few more colours here. So in this first one, just make that a bit smaller. In this first one we've created, let's just add a little bit of a darker tone like this. And let's bring these closer together. So we're getting a little bit more, so that literally is at the top, that's good. And let's just add some more colours into here just to kind of break up what we're getting and add a little bit more of weirdness to it. Because what I'm going to do at the top here is I'm going to add, if it'll let me, yep, a blue, which we can't really see very much. It's just like some sort of a mysticky sort of feel, a little bit more of a sort of a lighting effect, which we're going to put on the surface here. So I wanted to feel as though there's something coming on through the stone in the top parts. Now, that's all good and normal. We like that. What I need to do now is I need to take this colorRamp over here, and I'm going to take the result of this and I'm going to drop it into the factor on this. And I'm going to reset these to white and to black. It's not quite the white that I was hoping for. These aren't the whites you're looking for. Move along now, move along. And I'm going to take the colour of that and shove that into the height. And what we're going to do with this is, if I lift this black up, you'll see it flattens out those bottom bits. You can see it's raising it up. If I can see here, it's sort of saying we don't want that there, we want this up here. Actually, those are the ones that I do want to keep, so I'm going to move that. So white, move this black up to here, and I'm going to pull it down until it flattens out. There we go, until it gets rid of those. I think I might have this a little high. Let's try that there. Yeah, I think that might be a little high still. Let's try that at 1.1. Okay. So if I bring this down, what will happen is that it will fill up where I've got our higher lit colours. Like that. There we go. And then here, I'm going to bring this and lower this to half of its value, or thereabouts. I'm going to increase the strength now. And let's put another one in between here and here. Wait a tiny bit for it to reset. And I'm going to push this up so it goes even deeper and even more gnarly. Right, there we go. Yeah, that's nice. And then bring that up a little bit. So what we've got here working in the bump actually is like just, again, it's just got a kind of unnatural feel to it, which I do quite like. So let's go over here and I'm going to duplicate this, sorry. I'm going to Shift D, and we can't duplicate it with connection like we can in Maya, so we have to reconnect. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete that. And this one I'm going to make black. I'm going to bring it all up to here. I'm going to stick this into the emission. So now what we have is this light feel coming in. And to make it feel a little bit more mythical and a little bit more weird, let's add another one in here, another color. Let's take that higher and let's make that green. Let's bring that down so that we've got a little bit of green going on in there as well. There you go. That's quite nice actually. There you go. Right. That's not what I intended to do, but I'm actually even more happier with it. So we're going to change this very quickly now back to our rendered view, and you can see how that's looking. So what we're going to do, I said we've got cycles experimental. We're going to come down here and we're going to add a vector displacement. We're going to plug that here. We're going to take this color here and we're going to stick this into the height. And then I'm going to stick this displacement into displacement. Now, you can't really see anything here because what we haven't done, and I'll just save this before I go any further, just to be on the safe side. What we are going to do is we're going to do one modifier, so we're going to add a subdivision surface. I'm going to change it to adaptive subdivision. And I'm going to put the dicing, let's put the dicing to 0.5. And if we come over here and zoom in, well, it doesn't look like we're getting any displacement. And the reason for that is because we haven't actually turned it on in the shader. So we have to go down to our shader, cycle all the way down here, and where it currently says bump only, we changed to displacement and bump. And now you'll see it's totally and utterly destroyed what we were trying to do. So what we're going to do is leave it at mid-level at 0.5 and set that to 0.1. Is it has shifted, if I put that to 0, it's shifted the scale, the scale value has shifted our stele away in displacement using exactly the same information as the bump. And that is exactly what we wanted to do. So what we have now is like some ethereal glowing stone. And if I go to stele 1, So what we have now is some very, very shiny, shiny standing stones. That one was a lot quicker to make, wasn't it? And with a relatively simple shader under the circumstances. So let's have a quick render of that just to see how that looks. So there you go. We have our stones on our patches of grass. At the moment you'll notice we have just the textural shader for the grass on the grassy knoll bit, which we will sort out in the next video, just before we start taking all this off to render, which we'll sort out in the next video, just before we take it all off to render. And also we'll adjust the lighting so it looks a little bit less like this. And also we'll make some more stele using these as the base. And hopefully you'll come back and watch that one as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video, and you know, if you like it enough and you subscribe enough, hopefully I'll be able to keep on doing more of these. I'm really enjoying doing them. I'll find it hard to not do them, whether you subscribe or not. But subscription's always nice. It's always nice to know people like it. I'm getting lots of lovely comments. Keep them going. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, take care, guys. Speak to you all soon. Bye.